All right. So we're going to talk a little. First, we'll talk about kind of like the yield, doing a yield cal and doing a distance cal, and then we'll kind of go into some more of like field ops, the Pro 700 Plus, the grain cart automation. But first, before you do your yield cal with at least mid-range and 60 series, you have to do a distance cal. The distance cal pretty much just knows how the area, how fast you're traveling, and that way you don't kind of screw up your values in it. And it's just used in the background for calculations for area, but it will affect the yield if you don't do one. And it'll kind of be like, oh, hey, my yields are messed up, something's goofed up. Well, did you do a distance cal? So then when you go into, this is just how to do a distance cal. This is Pro 700. This is on a Pro 700 Plus, so it might look a little different, but it's all still the same thing. And then that's on a Pro 1200. Pretty self-explanatory. Just go through it, and it'll run you through. It'll just run you through it on how to do it. You drive 400 feet. When you're doing your yield and moisture calibrations, recommended to do your moisture and then your weight. There's 3 calibration types you can do. There's a fast, which the fast calibration is kind of just a quick and simple calibration, where you only use one load for calibration, which it's not as accurate because you're using one load. So most of the time you'll either do Wizard or Advanced, which the Wizard is just a step-by-step system that'll walk you through the steps. Advanced is a little bit different, where you'll go combine the load, put it in the truck, and then when the truck comes back with the ticket, you just enter those values in. And then here's how to do the Advanced. You make sure when you create a new task that you have it labeled as like Cal 1 2025. It'll not work unless you're in a task. And when you're doing a sample, the book says 3,000 to 10,000 pounds, but the most common and easiest way is just to fill a truckload, and then when it comes back to town, just put those values in it.
So make sure the other two, when you're doing that, you label it Cal 1, and then when you get done filling the truck, you make a new task. Otherwise, it's not going to be correct.
Yeah.
Turn off variety tracking.
Yep. If you're not tracking varieties, make sure you turn that off. For 60 series, way different. You go to your settings tab, and then yield and moisture monitor, and then you can know the calibration. There's 2 types for that.
So 700 monitors. Everybody complained about task getting full and make a new one. Then you had to go to data man or performance and find it so what your total field was. 1200s now, you keep your tasks the same. And now you got loads to do your load cal. Never change this because then you're going to lose your whole yield. And now,
because then it thinks you're in a different field doing a different task. So then you just keep with the load. You just change the loads. With your two settings for that, you can either use your existing loads or you can do a new calibration load. Which when you do the new calibration method, it walks you through it. Which that's the nice thing about Pro 1200s. Whenever you're doing calibrations or anything like in the settings, it walks you through it pretty self-explanatory. And for this one, you'll actually go ahead and combine, and it'll tell you either to speed up or slow down, but you just want to keep it in that green with your little arrow, and then you'll go ahead and you'll fill a truck, and then when the truck comes back from town with your ticket, you just enter in your ticket in those values, and then you press the check mark. If you like those settings, it's like, oh, check those check marks, and then you proceed, and then you can choose an option, so then you can do more than one load, or you can keep doing it for the new method. And then after you have a calibration in there, like let's say like you go to a different field or switch over from beans or corn, you can use the existing type, which the existing type will use 3 different flow rates, a low, medium, and high, which the low is like oh, you're combining crappy 100 bushel dry land, and then high is like you're in 300 bushel irrigated, and then medium would just be something in the middle. And then because the existing load has something to fall back on, so then you can actually go, you can select the load and you can go and check each, you can go ahead and click the check marks, and then if you want to add a load, you can add a load as well.
Back to that crop flow down here that we're talking about. If you're using the new existing load, it detects it. That's what that needle's for. It's detecting the bushel, so it knows if you're high, medium, or low. Where here, you don't know what you're combining, so then that's where you got to pick it.
And then here, you enter in your values after you get your ticket back, and then you just press checkbox, use calibration, and then you can always return this page like, oh, if you entered in something either wrong or something's not right, like this one's just not matching up, you can either just uncheck it because maybe this field is different than an old calibration number, or you can just go ahead and delete it. And then here, your mass flow sensor, the biggest point to look for, like a wear point, is right here. Those Allen screws, those will wear, and when there is a lot of wearage, then it's junk.
Basically, if them things are exposed, you try taking an Allen wrench, take them off, you won't get them off. Usually, you got to take a cutoff wheel, make a slot in it, and then hopefully you get them. Or if it's not work, you can get by straight on them.
And like and a good way to see if your sensor is kind of going bad is if you're just getting a bunch of crazy numbers, like that's like, oh, it's like 600, 700, or like even some just goofy. That'd be one of the first things to check, would be your mass flow sensor. Here's your heading settings. This is 700 and 1200. Trent had walked through this in his presentation earlier, but just kind of another little walkthrough. You have your maximum work height, which normally you don't always set it up to 100%. It depends what it's on. If it's on your bean head, you might set it a little bit lower compared to your corn head. Just depends what you like. And the same thing is with the 1200s. A little bit easier, a little user-friendly to see. But those are the two setting pages.
The main thing too is make sure you have auto cut width turned on. If you're cutting 30 foot, coming up high, cutting beans, it's going to count 30 foot the whole time if you have that turned off.
So for WAS has not been, it used to be so good even just a few years ago, but now WAS is up to 40 inches. So like when you're combining and you're off, especially in beans, one of the best things to do is just go to range point. When we say AFS 372, that is the receiver. Anything that is not a connect. So like a 50 series down, you have a 372 receiver, and those will run range point, which to get range point it's only $475 a year. Or what you can do, if you still plant with that tractor, you can swap those receivers. Like, oh, if I have that one has center point on it, I can go switch that receiver onto the combine, and it'll have center point. With your Vector Pro on your Connect, you cannot switch those because the serial number is tied to those tractors, or it's not to the tractors but to the machine. So if you want to go to up to the next step up than WAS, you just go to AFS1, which is cheaper, is $300 a year, and then if you want to unlock it to AFS3, it's $1,000 a year, and center point's $1,095 a year.
So range point AFS1, does not require no unlocks. So basically, you pay the $475 or $300.
And if it's a 372 for unlock, it's $3,000 to unlock it, but then it's unlocked for forever. You can always put range point on it whenever. So that's why a lot of guys with their planting tractor, they'll just, oh, this one's already unlocked to center point, they'll just go and just swap it on. So make sure, one of the big things, like if you clear through all the messages on there, that one will even tell you that, oh, we do not have a data card in here, so we're not going to memorize anything that you do. That's only with 700s and 700 pluses. With Pro 1200s, it does not require a USB or a memory card. Those will all store the data in them. But the 700 and the 700 pluses, you need to make sure you have that USB in it, most of the time we recommend the case USB stick. That way, just because sometimes if you use like just buy a USB from Walmart, it will not actually work. It'll goof stuff up, and that way when you have it in, it'll just track it and you won't lose any of your information. So when you want to do variety tracking, well, it'd be too late if you thought of that idea in harvest. It all the way starts back in planting. So you put all your settings in, and then after you're done planting, you can take your stick, put it in a desktop like Field Ops, and then from there, then you go into the harvest, and then let me back up a little bit. So then you can put it into Field Ops, you kind of track it, put in like your little maps. I'll get to in a sec. But with Field Ops, kind of switch gears a little bit. You have your PCM that kind of tracks where the machine is at, and so it'll show a bunch of other stuff. It'll show like how fast it's traveling, the fuel percentage. It'll even show you the engine coolant level, and just kind of shows you some nice stuff like when was the last time this thing has ran, and then like here. You can see, and it'll even show you like, is the key just on? Is it my hired hand actually working? Is he actually moving? And it'll just show you that, and it's pretty neat to see. And then it shows you. It'll also show you how like in the field, how many hours did it spend moving, or how many hours did it spend traveling to that field, or actually in work. There's another picture of it shows. And then also more on the Field Ops, there's different functions that Nick ran through earlier. You have your planter maps, your yield maps, and your product creation. Your product creation, you can go and like my fertilizer, like if I want to go put starter in or have that in, I can go ahead and make a fertilizer in there or make a different variety. And with the guidance lines, that's nice because if you have a bunch of swaths, and like if you got mad, just kept adding new, well, now that your map's just kind of goofed up, you can put those guidance lines into Field Ops, and you can kind of go and select each one, kind of clean them up, make them look nicer, and just kind of get rid of the hassle. Soil maps, the moment you automatically make a boundary in Field Ops, it'll pull up with a soil map from the soil survey online, and then you can also go ahead and make prescriptions through there. It's way easier if you've ever used SMS. It is 100% more user-friendly than SMS. You don't cuss yourself out or throw the computer in the trash. So here's just shows like this here is your boundary that like you created, then this would be like your application map. You can show what population we planted at. It's just super user-friendly, easy to understand. Here would be like your guidance lines. Shows you how many different swaths you have. Like, I have a straight 60-foot swath versus like my end rows. You can go and see that. And like if I have like a goofed up swath, or if when I got mad and the tractor and just clicked add a new swath, you can go and zoom in and delete or move swaths. And then here's where you create a prescription. Pretty easy. How you create it in Field Ops, you create it by your soil type, so you go ahead, put in your population that you want, and then put in your crop and your input, and then your units. And then if you have variety zones, you can put which zones or out of the zones value. And then when you export that data, like yield map, prescriptions, anything like that, if you're going into a 700 or a 700 plus, has to be in a CN1 file. If you're going to go to a Pro 1200, has to be in an ISO XML file. Or if you don't even have a case monitor, 90% of the time it'll go into a shape file. Like even like an old Trimble monitor, like an FM1000, it'll work into that. It'll go into like a shape file. or if you have anything with a PCM, you don't even have to download it and put it in. If the tractor's on, you can send it to the equipment and it'll send it through the air as long as it has connection. Like with the PCM, it'll just need cellular connection, and then they'll send it straight to the tractor from it. Like you can be sitting inside at the desk, as long as the tractor's on and has cellular connection, if it has a PCM in it, you can just send that data straight to it. And then here's a little bit more of the export process. Pretty easy to go through. Like you can select what you want. Like if I just wanted my boundaries in it, I can go ahead and select that. Or if I wanted my variety zones in it, you can go ahead and choose which ones that you want. Here's more on that. Some of the new items that we come out with. The 700 Plus is something that we're super pushing just because they're so much nicer than the 700. It is a huge understatement to say that when you're sitting in the tractor and you can't see the 700 because the sun's glaring on it, these ones you can actually see there. And a lot of the times with the 700s, you'll get where sometimes the touch screen's goofed up, or it's just super slow or super laggy. Takes a long time to turn on or shut down. The 700 Pluses is like so much nicer. All it is a 1200 body with the 700 interface or 700 functions. With our trade-in program right now, if it's just trade in the 700, you can get a trade-in for $2,000 is how much they'll give you for your 700. With the combines, you also have to get a harness and a bracket for the underneath the armrest. With the tractors, on the tractor side, it'll fit into any tractor that has like the factory that came auto guidance compatible. It's like a 305 or a 335, straight plug and play. You don't have to get any different harness, any bracket. It'll plug in right into your harness. So all you have to do is just take out your old 700, put the Plus in, and then there's also a rebate as well. Like right now, just for combines, it's only 50 series, but there are starting to produce. There's supposed to be a new software launch in September where they will be going to older combines such as the 20 or such as the 30s and the 40s, because right now when you put your 700 Plus in your combine, you go to select like what your combine is. There's selections right now for like a 30 series or a 40 series. So they are working on that. They're also working on sprayer software as well. So that'll come in to one of the next software releases as well. Yep, another new thing that Case is pushing out is the cart automation, which as of now, for the tractor side, it'll only work in a Connect tractor, but for combines, it'll work anything as old as up to a 40 series. So how it works on like the 700 side, it all works through the UT page. Same on like a Pro 1200. It's all through your UT page. Since it's all Raven nodes, it'll go through like Raven's cellular network. And so most times, like just to get the tractor a little bit so it doesn't weave as much, because it'll pretty much set on like an AB line, but so it's a lot of guys, what they do, they'll put a AFS1, or if it's the same tractor you're planting with, just activate your AFS3 on it, and then if the combine's on range point, it works pretty slick. And so how you control it on the combine side, you just have this little dial that's in the combine, and you can just turn it to bring the tractor forward, turn it back, bring the tractor back, and then in the cab you have like this little map, and it'll actually show you where the tractor's at, and it'll have like a little little mark where you're going to hit it, or where you're going to put the grain into the cart, and you can actually change that, and then you can actually control the tractor's RPMs as well, which is pretty nice. And then another new thing for 60 series is there's a new row guide algorithm. So they added hillside comp and they added the curve comp, And then with your 60 series, there's an unlock that's included, standard. So all you need to add is just the head sensor kit. But there are options to add road guide to older machines as well. You can put in any machine that's has a steering valve. So anything up to like a 20 series, you can put a sensor in and put road guide on it. Yep, that is. Make sure you just calibrate your yield monitor, and make sure you just do a distance cal before that, and that's pretty much it.